High Heat presented by Kit Kat. I'm Alana Rizzo. Chris Russo is here today. We're having a little bit of issues with his camera. Perhaps it's because of the earthquake that we just experienced on the Northeast. 4.8 in magnitude, all the way from New York here to Massachusetts, where I am sitting. A big program for you. Dave Roberts of the Los Angeles Dodgers joining us in just a bit. The Dodgers, after an off day yesterday, taking on the Chicago Cubs for their first series on the road. Also some big series coming up this weekend. In fact, the Astros and the Rangers squaring off for the first time since the 2023 ALCS. And that's where we're going to begin our brushback. We bring in Chris Russo, who I think can hear me, Chris. I think you can hear me, and hopefully your camera is working. I just don't think that Chris can hear the studio. So, Chris, welcome in. Welcome to Happy Friday. And I know Astros and Rangers is at the top of mind for you. Chris, can you hear me? All right, Chris can't hear you, so I'm going to go ahead and take this. The Astros and the Rangers for the first time. Oh, good. Welcome. Come back in, my friend. Astros and Rangers, what do you think?
There we go.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you right now, what a crazy day here because of the scenario with this earthquake about 10:23 this morning. Lebanon, New Jersey, central New Jersey, as you said, heard all the way in Boston, Washington, D.C., felt it here. I was downstairs in his room. I thought it was the wind. Very, strange. Maybe it's got something to do with the solar eclipse. I know you did. Maybe it's solar eclipse I was hearing. Who knows? But scary scenario here in the last half hour or so. We've had, obviously, internet problems. I'm not sure if that's related to what happened here a half hour ago, or it's just our lousy internet, which you and I have dealt with for a long time when we do these shows, in our remote locations, more so me than you. But anyway, to make a long story short, we got a big baseball weekend forthcoming here in early April after what occurred in the first week of the season. We got a Yankee home opener here momentarily against Toronto. We'll be on top of that. We got home openers in Pittsburgh today with the Orioles are there. We'll be on top of that. Atlanta's got a home opener today against Arizona. We'll be on top of that on the network all day long. And then, as you said, Alana, there at the top, we got some rivalry scenarios today. No home opener involved, but we got the Astros in Texas. That's a big series in Texas after what happened last year, where both teams could not win a home game in their respective ALCS scenarios. Texas lost 3 games at home. Houston lost all 4 games at Minute Maid. Houston's ability to win games in that home ballpark has been, very questionable in the last, last year was not good. Bad at the end. Bad to start to this year. They did beat the Blue Jays 2 out of 3. And then this series against Texas. I don't know if I can make too big a deal about what this might mean. The one negative about the balanced schedule, and I think most of us like it. I like the idea that you play all the teams. It mixes it up a little bit, but the one negative is you only now play teams in your division 4 times, which means you go visit twice, they visit you twice, not 3-3. And in certain scenarios, that really ruins a lot of this rivalry situation in the sport. Perfect example is this. The Astros and Rangers will play 7 games in the first 2 weeks of the season against each other, and they are done, I believe, in mid-July. They don't play against each other the rest of the way, and that's just the way it is. The Yankees and the Orioles will play a lot of games against each other. That looks to be a very heated race in the AL East between these two teams. Orioles last year 101, Yankees at 6-1. They'll play a lot of games early, and they will only play 1 series against each other in the month of September. So you are going to have the Cubs and Cardinals, Phillies and Braves are done first couple days in September. Cubs, Cardinals, same thing. It's the byproduct of playing everybody else. And it's uneven divisional play too, with 5 teams in this division. So you are in each division. So you're going to be in a situation where these juicy matchups from a year ago, which would be Astros Texas, they're going to be done in middle of July. And you still got Seattle sitting there, and Seattle seems to be and should be a pretty good team. So they'll play games, but against the Rangers and against the Astros. But when you only play 13 or 12 games against your divisional opponents and you play 6 or 7 of them in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season, that's 150 games where you're not playing. Astros and Texas don't play that against each other. And again, they don't play the last 30, 35 games of the year. So that is that's just a byproduct of the schedule. This is not an unbalanced schedule where you play, 18, 19 times against teams in your own division, and then inevitably you'll have 2 series apiece against teams in your same division in the month of September. So you got a chance to have literally, 6 to 7 series against teams that you're up against in your same division. You're not going to have that. You didn't have it last year. You're not going to have it this year. And that is just something you're going to have to live with. Now, you might get Dodgers, Yankees, and you're going to get that this year. You might get something very interesting in the month of September with interleague. You might get that, but you're not going to get that divisional play that you like. Now, from a standpoint of where you are in the league, it makes it better because everybody's going to basically play everybody else the same amount of times. Everybody's playing teams in the National League if you're an American League team, and you're not going to sort of have a predominance of teams in your division where other teams can take advantage of a weaker division with lots of games again, like for instance in the American League Central, playing 18 games against bad teams. You're not going to have that anymore. So the wild card is a little bit more balanced. But what you are going to miss is you're going to miss a situation where you have head-to-head to decide divisional championships in the month of September between 2 teams that lead the division. Chances are that is going to go bye-bye. You're not going to have that anymore, and that's just something that you're going to have to get accustomed to. Now, as far as the Astros and Rangers are concerned, listen, it's early in the year, so it's more about last year up against each other in an American League Championship Series than it is about the first week of the season. I know it's a new year. Teams don't want to think about last year right now, but the bottom line is we saw Astros and Rangers a lot at the end, and now we're going to see them right away this year. So there's a little after effect of what occurred. Plus you had the suspension of Abreu, plus a Garcia going crazy in Game 5. That game was a crazy game. You got that going on. Maybe a little after effect there. I think it's way too early to sit there and say, wow, this is going to set the tempo in a divisional race. I think that's, difficult on April 5th to think what's going to happen this weekend in Texas is going to really set the template for what's going to happen 50, 60, 80, 100 games from now. That's asking too much. Remember, the Braves and Phillies have already played. Did Atlanta winning 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia set the template for the NL East? Not in my eyes. The Yankees will play 4 games in Baltimore in 2 weeks. Those are big games at Camden Yards. Is that going to set the template in the AL East? I don't think so. Something, as again, it's a byproduct. It's fun. You keep an eye on it. You don't want to see anybody get swept if you're an Astro or a Texas fan, or if you're a Yankee or an Oriole fan, because then there's a little something going on. I think the Yankees sweeping Houston this week has some ramifications, even though they're not in the same division. And those 2 teams, by the way, are done on May 7th. But, again, when you're going to try to squeeze everybody in, you're going to have the occasional Yankee-Pirates series in September. You're going to have the occasional Rangers, Marlins series in September. There's just nothing you can do about it. You can't please everybody. We all like the interleague. Dodgers, Red Sox, Dodgers, Yankees, Astros, Dodgers, Cubs, Red Sox. We all love that stuff, but there's a price you got to pay. The price is less games against divisional opponents and natural rivalries in the course of the year. So be it. That's the way it goes. Astros Rangers this weekend. We'll keep an eye on that. On a crazy start to our program with an earthquake at 10:23 in the east in central New Jersey. Back to Alana. Let's get her thoughts. Alana, take it away. What do you have for me?
I think maybe the earthquake is just from the level of volume in which you speak. I'm surprised we haven't had earthquakes before with the how loud you are sometimes. But I think you look at it a little bit differently, Chris. I think you look at rivalries as what's happening right now. What's the most exciting teams going head to head right now? And keep in mind, at the end of the season in September, the Mariners will play the Astros. The Dodgers will play the Braves. I mean, there are certain teams matching up at the end of the season that could, be playing for playoff implications, playoff seedings, those types of things. But I am interested in the Astros and the Rangers right now, just because it's exactly what is on top of mind from the World Series in 2023. Remember when Alex Bregman said, people wondered what it was going to be like if the Houston Astros didn't win the AL West? I guess we'll never know. And Corey Seager answered beautifully at the championship parade. People wondered what it was like if the Texas Rangers didn't win the World Series. I guess we'll never know. And Corey Seager never says anything. So for Corey to come out and say that, he may have been a little bit imbibed, and that's fine. But I like that type of stuff in this game. It's good. Two teams in the same division that are always, I shouldn't say always with the Rangers, but, perennial powers that the Houston Astros have been going head to head. I like it. Now, the Astros starting pitching has been tremendous. The Astros bullpen has been terrible. So take a look at that. But some other rivalries, I guess, maybe not, over the course of time in the history of the game, but other things I'm interested, the Yankees and the Orioles. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch those two teams go head to head. You said it yesterday. You thought that the Yankees were going to have one hell of a season. I agree with you. I think the Orioles, coming off a 101 win season last year, are also going to have a very good season. Maybe those are the two teams battling it out in the AL East for the first seed or to win the division or whatever it is. Maybe the Red Sox are going to be a lot better than we think they are. They're off to a better start than I think most of us gave them credit to do. But the Yankees and the Orioles open the season series with the 4-game set in Baltimore at the end of the month on April 29th. The Phillies and Braves finish their season series on September 1st. So where's the juice there? We're not going to know. Who knows where they're going to be at the end of the season? I think the Phillies are in as a wild card. I think the Braves win the NL East. I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that. The Cubs and the Cardinals, which historically has been a tremendous rivalry, they finished their season series early in August. I picked the Cardinals to make the postseason as a wild card. I might be actually, I think I just picked the Reds. That might be completely off base. I'm not sure where the Cubs are going to be by the end of the season. But again, you're right. They finish in early August. But who knows what the rivalries, at least a season rivalry, is going to be by the time we get to September. There's still a little bit of juice along the way as these teams fight one another to get into that postseason push. Can you hear me, Christopher? Am I talking to myself?
I can. I can hear you there. I can hear you, Alana. The problem is the natural rivalry, Dodgers-Giants, Yankees-Red Sox, Houston-Texas, that have gone back and they're close together. That will be hurt, Braves-Phillies, when they don't play in the month of September with something on the line. I mean, it is April 5th for Texas and Houston.
Agreed.
Those normally in 30 years ago would be huge games, but it's April 5th. So when you only play a team 4 times and you only play them 12 times and you play 1/3 of the games against that team before April 5th or a half before April 15th, you're going to lose some aspect of the rivalry. So the rivalry in baseball now is going to be more done on a year-to-year basis because you're going to have everything line up properly. For instance, Seattle and Houston, they're both going to have to be in the race. And when you get to late September and those games mean something, then you can build up a rivalry that particular year because of Seattle and Houston. That's what you're going to develop now. It's going to be when you play the team with something on the line. That's the problem.
Yeah, there's also a diminished rivalry when the teams going head to head have very lopsided records. If you look at lately what the Dodgers have done to the Giants have dominated the Giants over the course of recent history. But if you go back over time, it's almost incredibly evenly split as far as wins-losses are concerned for those two historic franchises. That's a rivalry. We've had conversations on this very show about whether or not the Dodgers and Padres is a legitimate rivalry, only because, in recent years, there has been some juice with those games. Is it a natural rivalry? Probably not, because it's not Dodgers and Giants. It's not Red Sox and Yankees. But I think, each month the rivalry can kind of change just based on where the teams are in the standings and going head to head. But this year the Giants, so far anyway, have not been as strong as the Dodgers. Last year, same thing. You look at the Braves and the Phillies. You have maintained that the Braves are more of the regular season team, that type of situation, and the Phillies Phillies get more pumped up in October. They're more of that, that postseason type of team. But it's still fun to see where all of these teams are going to shake out. And hopefully at the end of it, it is tight and it does matter. To have a 3-game set with the Chicago Cubs this afternoon. We're still waiting for Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, to join us here momentarily on High Heat. But Chris, I'll bring you back in. Hopefully, technically, we can get things going here. But the Dodgers are off to a very good start. 7-2 so far in their recent homestand. This is a team that is scoring 5 or more runs in every single game this season. The pitching has been good enough. We already know that the offense is good. And I don't even think the entire offense is clicking on all cylinders as of yet. This is going to be a tough team to beat this season.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Dave Roberts. Giants and Dodgers finished their season on July 25th. I mean, that's tough.
That's
the Giants and the Dodgers, that's the second best rivalry in the game, finished on July 25th. So I just wanted to make sure I looked to double check it. Again, that's the byproduct of having everybody play everybody else and, having a balanced schedule, which is a lot of benefits. I'm not saying it's bad, but there is a byproduct. You have to accept it. All right, from that perspective. And the Dodgers, as you said, they're playing really well. Look, the Dodgers have 5 road trips. You know what, the Dodgers, don't they finish their season, Alana? You can look at it. I believe they finished their season in Atlanta and Miami. Is that correct?
That's strange because the Dodgers usually finish at home.
I think it's Atlanta and Miami. We'd have to double check that, but that is where I think they finished. I know we're having all sorts of internet
They
problems
actually
today.
finished. Mark Adelberg, just in our research department, just told us that the Los Angeles Dodgers finish their season in Colorado this year. So it's going to be the top of the division versus the bottom of the division for the last series of the year.
All right, so they don't finish in Atlanta or Miami. I thought they did. Maybe they play late in the year, whatever it might be. So they do finish in Colorado. All right, from the baseball perspective. And, we should do a couple things about yesterday first. One, the Marlins, they're terrible. What are they, 0-8? They lost 4 to Pittsburgh, they lost to the Cardinals, and they lost 3 to the Angels. They are 0-8 to start the year. The Marlins, I hate to say this, the Marlins season's over. They're finished. They're in a tough division to begin with. Go ahead.
Here's my perspective on the Miami Marlins. This is a team, in my opinion, that decided to bring in Peter Bendix, formerly of the Tampa Bay Rays, of course, the president of baseball ops for the Tampa Bay Rays, bring him into Miami, a bigger market as far as that is concerned, and try to run the Miami Marlins like the Tampa Bay Rays. They let Kim Ng walk away, which is a mistake. Not to take anything away from Peter Bendix. I think he's a good baseball man, but the only team that can run a team like the Tampa Bay Rays are the Rays. Quit trying to run other franchises the way that the Rays do it. Miami is not that type of market. And this is the first team ever, Chris, that has started the season 0 and now 8, and made the postseason last year. It's the first team in Major League Baseball history that hasn't won a game after making the postseason last year. They're giving up 7 runs per game. I understand they don't have Sandy Alcantara. I understand that they don't have, some of their other pitchers. And now Yuri Perez is injured and he's on the IL. They just keep taking, blows. But Luis Arraez, the, reigning batting champion, and Tim Anderson are doing absolutely nothing. So they don't have an offense. They don't have the pitching. They let Kim Ng go, and they're trying to run a big market team like a small market team, and it's just proven time and time again it's not working. Listen, they're going to get mad at me for saying it's a bad baseball market. It's a bad sports market, period. Knicks fans frequent that arena. The Dolphins Dolphins are empty seats in many a scenario, and the Marlins are the Marlins. It's not a great baseball market. There's not an incredible amount of local revenue from a season ticket perspective. Their TV contract isn't superb. So as a result, they sort of have to be a kind of a mid-market team. They're
never going to be able to spend, like these other franchises have. Huizinga did it one time, they won, and then he tore down the team. It's the way it is. It's a very tricky franchise from that standpoint. So I don't know what the solution is there. You're right. To have no payroll is not the answer. To have a high payroll is not going to mean anything either, because they're not going to go to the games. It's a very strange spot, and it's tricky. The stadium is too big. Their fan base is 50 miles away up in West Palm Beach area. That's when they really. It's a very strange situation. So I don't know if they ever could be consistently good, and they were pretty good last year, and this year they're bad, and they're 0-8. They haven't hit, as you said. They let a couple of guys go. Soler, of course, is a perfect example of that. He hit 30-something home runs. They changed their front office with a very good year, and they got a bunch of injuries with their pitching staff and no depth, and they're in a tough division, and they've lost their first 8 games. And remember, they lost to the Pirates and the Orioles. They didn't go out there and lose to Atlanta and L.A. It's going to be a long year with the Marlins.
Wait a minute. The Orioles are pretty dang good. The Orioles are pretty dang good, and the Pirates are off to a very good start.
No, they lost
I was
the
about
Angels.
To say.
They lost the Angels.
Okay.
The Angels.
All right.
The Angels.
Yeah, we're still waiting for Anthony Rendon to get a hit. He hasn't had a hit since 1987. All right. Welcoming now Dave Roberts, of course, the Dodgers manager. We appreciate every time that Skip comes on. Dave, thanks for being with us. We're having some technical issues. You are going to be my savior once again, my friend. You guys are off to a heck of a start. 7-2 so far in the games that you played at home, and now you're on your first road trip of the season. What has impressed you the most so far, Skip, between your first 9 games?
I think the thing that's been most impressive has been the starting pitching. We've been very consistent, outside of that first Yoshinobu game in Korea, but they've given us some length. The bullpen's been fine. We're catching the baseball, and obviously with the lineup we're running out there, guys are putting up cricket numbers. So it's been good. Really excited with the start we've had.
All right, so Bobby Miller gets his second start of the season. He shoved in his first start as a Dodger in 2024, and you need him to be good, Dave, just based on depth and waiting for some guys to come back. What impressed you about his first outing?
I think Bobby's just continuing to gain mound presence, consistency with that. I think his fastball command is as good as it's ever been. And so now when you're throwing 100, you can command it to both sides of the plate. You can mix in a breaking ball when you need to make it go left. He throws his change up for swing and miss, get a quick out right there. So Bobby has a lot of good arms and veteran people to kind of model himself after, and he's sort of making it his own right now, and we need a good one out of him today.
Yeah, happy 25th birthday, by the way, to Bobby Miller. You guys are scoring 5 or more runs in your first 9 games, Dave. Obviously, we know that the offense is potent, and I don't even think that the entire lineup is clicking yet. How dangerous can this club be?
It's scary. Obviously, Mookie's leading the charge right now. He's just playing out of this world right now, and obviously Freddie knows how to get hits and hit the outfield grass, and Show hit his first homer the other night, so that was good, and Will Smith is consistent as ever, but Max Muncy's doing a great job. But I think, towards the bottom of the order, these guys need to get on track. They will, and so like you said, we're not even clicking on all cylinders, but up and down 1 through 9, Alana, we got so much talent, versus left, versus right, and it's a lot of fun watching these guys throw out hits.
Dave, Teoscar Hernandez is a bit of a surprise for me. I wasn't certain what the Dodgers were getting when they signed him, but you talk about the bottom of the order, and only Mookie has more RBIs than Teoscar Hernandez. What have you been not necessarily impressed with, but just how do you like the way that he takes his at-bats?
First off, I love that dude. If you get to know Teo, you love him, and he just comes to the ballpark every day, ready to play, ready to win. And I think for me is like he's doing a good job of laying off sliders down below. When he gets a pitch that's up in the zone, he's hammering it. And so every time he touches it, it comes off really hot, and he's got some big hits for us. And fastball up and away, backside a few nights ago. Then he hit a curveball in that same game, and then he rode out his slider. So he's covering all the pitches, and he's great to have in the middle of the order.
Shohei Ohtani getting his first home run a couple of days ago. We know that he's going to hit the ball a long way many different times. What conversation did you have with him? It was my understanding that you just had a private conversation that said, hey, just take a deep breath, relax. What was that?
Yeah, no, it was just I just wanted to just kind of chat with him before the game and just see where his head was at. Obviously, he's sort of a hands-off guy, a turnkey ball player, but I think every player needs at some point in time just to have a little sit down and a check-in. And I just talked to him a little bit and hopefully tried to ease a little bit. I don't think it had anything to do with him hitting a homer, but I'm glad that he homered, and it might lead to more conversations if that's what it takes for him to hit homers.
How approachable has he been, Dave? I know that Shohei Ohtani is a pretty private person. Obviously, he has a lot of expectation on him, a gigantic contract, an international superstar. How has the dynamic been in that clubhouse with him and the rest of your guys?
Shohei's been fantastic, Alana. Obviously, when you're talking about a designated hitter, so he's sort of on his program with that, and then now you bake in the language, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But his English for me is really good, and his initiating conversation with coaches, with teammates, and then vice versa, he's been a joy. I mean, he really has, and I think for me, it's you got to treat him just like everyone else, and obviously with the respect that he's earned. But outside of that, in our clubhouse, he's been fantastic.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto, despite the first start, had a better second start. I'm going to throw out all the stuff that happened in Seoul out the window just because of the schedule and all those different types of things and the routine. But what do you need him to do, Dave, to be a legitimate part of the starting rotation and know that every time he takes the ball, every fifth day, that you have a good chance to win?
Well, I think the stuff alone will lend itself to that. I agree with throwing out that start in Korea. He cleaned up his delivery, his set position. This is a guy that has 80 command with the fastball. It's a plus split, which he really hasn't had the feel for yet in his starts. It's a really good curveball as well, and he can make the ball go left with the slider. So he's got a lot of weapons, can pitch to all quadrants, and I think for us it's more of just believing that you're a top-end guy. And as he's, as the league is learning him and his pitch mix, he's also gathering information. But, man, he's a very talented young pitcher.
All right, Walker Buehler making his second rehab start. I know that he is chomping at the bit to get back. When will Butane be back in your starting rotation?
So Walker is making a start tomorrow for that OKC team. So I'm not sure if it's 4 innings, something like that. And he's chomping at the bit, as you can imagine. So I don't know. I think it's going to be 4 rehab starts, potentially 5. Then he'll join us. So I think early part of May is fair. But obviously Walker's driving this. We want to make sure he's healthy, strong, recovering well. But when we get him back, Alana, it's going to make our rotation that much better.
No question about it. But right now, the guys in the rotation are holding their own. Dave Roberts and the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Chicago Cubs today at Wrigley. Dave, we always appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
Who threw out the inaugural first pitch of the first Marlins game in 1993. They played the Dodgers and Earl Hershiser. DiMaggio threw out the first pitch because Carl Barger, who passed away with a fatal heart attack at that year's winter meetings, was a huge Joe DiMaggio fan and loved the number 5. And so Joe D, who had just relocated from San Francisco to Miami, did, in Barger's honor, throw out the first pitch. We have that call by Chris Berman, he on ESPN. This is back in April 5th of 1993. Here's Chris.
Is there any question that this is Major League Baseball? Jolton Joe DiMaggio threw out the opening pitch. And I'll tell you what, he can still fire it.
Joe died about, 5 or 6 years. Looks great there. He's about 79, 80 years of age. Now, in that game, and the Marlins drew 3 million fans this year, which is amazing. First ever year, they did well. They played at Joe Robbie Stadium where the Dolphins used to play, and is obviously still there. They just redecorated it 9 million times. But in that game, the Marlins beat the Dodgers 6-3. Tim Wallach hit the first ever home run in the ballpark. Wallach was on the Dodgers, and of course, they beat beat Hershiser. They had a big second inning. Walt Weiss had a 2-run triple. Good, well-pitched game by Charlie Huff of Miami. Wayne Huizinga owned the ball club. He was a part owner of the Dolphins. And the Marlins turned out to beat L.A. 6-3. That was the first game in the history of the Marlins in that ballpark in '93. And the great DiMaggio, who relocated from SF to South Florida that year, opened up the Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital in '92, as you saw throughout the first pitch. That's where we are as we move it along here. Ariel Epstein, if the internet allows, we'll have a conversation with her picks for a Friday. So stick with us, BetMGM. Then this is the earthquake. Let's take a look. Let me hear.
Mad Dog, I had to change locations to try to change the momentum. I'm going with the Yankees-Jays first 5 over 4.5 runs here at Yankees opening day. The wind is blowing out, which is why my eyes keep tearing, so that's going to help these offenses. Yusei Kikuchi is on the mound, a left-hander for Toronto. The Yankees are one of the top 10 lineups against lefties. And Kikuchi did pitch well last year at Yankee Stadium, but that was a completely different Yankees team. Kikuchi likes to get hit in the 5th inning. The Yankees have been working these pitchers this season. They have the top 5 most pitches per plate appearance this year, so look for Kikuchi to struggle a bit in the 5th. And as for this Jays lineup, they were one of the best afternoon game lineups in baseball, 3rd highest OPS, first 5 over, 4.5 runs here at Yankee Stadium. An offensive player prop here for the Yankees, their leadoff hitter, Gleyber Torres, over 1.5 total bases is in plus money. This is not going into my record, by the way, because I don't like offensive player props, Mad Dog. However, Gleyber Torres is hitting much better against lefties than righties in his career. He has more extra base hits against southpaws. He's hitting .409 with 2 doubles and a home run against Kikuchi, and he's the leadoff hitter. Torres should have the at-bats with at least 5 today. Stake is over 1.5 total bases. Now later tonight, there's a pitcher prop that I'm looking at. It's another lefty, this one for the Texas Rangers, Cody Bradford. Under 3.5 Ks in plus money, around plus 125 is great value. Bradford really doesn't strike out many batters. In fact, he averages about 4 strikeouts per start in his career. Had 4 strikeouts against the Rockies in his last start, and the Rockies are one of the highest K-rated teams in baseball. Now you're getting one of the lowest, especially against lefties, the Astros, who barely strike out, and a 6.95 ERA for Bradford in 8 starts in his career. He may not even stay in this game long enough to get to 4 Ks. Take the under 3.5 Ks in plus money. Last play of the night, you've got the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Seattle Mariners. I like the under of 8 runs in this game. I really like both these pitchers. First off, let's talk about the offenses. Abysmal. These are 2 bottom 10 offenses in regards to runs per game so far this year. The Mariners were at home, and they couldn't get their bats going. So what on earth in their first road game is going to get their bats going against the ace for the Brewers? So I'm looking for this under here.
Ariel, great job there with your picks. Well, let's see. That Yankee Blue Jay one is interesting. Let's see how you do there. I got my glasses on because I got good job, bad job. Next, after Miss Epstein, we'll have some fun. We'll incorporate this segment in again. Bad jobs, at least. We put a little bite in it. I don't need to see fans holding a beer can with a child on a foul ball. That's fluffy video. So I promise you, with the bad jobs, we'll have a little bite to it, which is the most important thing. We got 3 excellent good jobs this week. Let's start with the Texas Rangers, who obviously brought the World Series championship trophy out and got their rings. And inscribed on their World Championship rings was the road, R-O-A-D, and it was corresponding to the teams they beat on the road in the postseason. There you have it. They beat obviously the Rays, they beat the Orioles, they beat Houston, and they beat the Diamondbacks, and they never lost a game on the road. 2 in Tampa, 2 in Baltimore, 3 in Houston, down 3-2. They won game 6 and 7, and 3 in a row in Arizona. Those are the World Series rings. That is a great, good job. That's a great job by Texas. It's imaginative. I love that one. Good job by Marty Montato, finding something that's halfway decent. That is number 1. This is also a good job. Ellie De La Cruz of the Reds. He spent the off-season learning English so he can communicate with the fan base in Cincinnati in his second language. That's a wonderful job by him. We have some video to explain it. I want you to watch. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's so important to me because now you guys understand what I say. And it's important to the fans to understand me and me understand the fans. And I put a lot of work on my English to talk with you guys, and I think I'm doing a good job.
I love that. That's a great job. It's a tough effort to do. He didn't have to, and he did it. Maybe a little less, miscommunication as far as quotes are concerned. He says how he wants to say it, right? The tone, the whole bit. Loved it. So that's number 2. And number 3 of the Orioles, a new owner who has gotten off to a great start. A, the Orioles are good. B, he did a very good interview on the Oriole TV thing on opening day. And number 3, he bought a lot of beer for bars in Baltimore. I don't know if we have video of that, but he did a wonderful job there. So let's give the Oriole the owner some credit. We have some sound to show you. Let's watch.
I want to introduce myself. I'm Mike Arrighetti, one of the new owners of the O's. This is my best friend Smitty, also a new owner of the O's. And this is Mitch. We're buying everybody a beer. Let's go!
That's a great job. All the way around, the Orioles are a fun team right now. They got it going. They got a lot of young players. Now, they'll like them a lot better if they ever got Corbin Burns signed and they bring Jackson Halliday up. But boy, oh boy, wonderful there. Good PR. That's the good jobs. The bad jobs, we will start with the Bratwurst issue in Milwaukee. I guess this is opening day where Brian Buxton, I didn't see the highlights of this. I'll see it now with you, where Brian Buxton almost got run over by a freight train. Let's watch. Go ahead. Okay, Byron Buxton, that's a little fluffy, Marty, to be fair. That's not as bad as I thought. I thought it was, it's a little rough. Anyway, that's the first bad job. The second bad job is this flag nonsense with both the Phillies and Tampa. I did this the other day. The Phillies quietly, but they still raised a wild card flag at their opener. This is a franchise that has won championships and everything else, and the same with Tampa. Wild card flags. I mean, really now? With everybody making a postseason, with 12 teams out of 30 making a postseason, we're putting wild flags up. Here's the Phillies one. Here's a franchise that blew a 3-2 lead at home to Arizona by losing games 6 and 7. And the year before that, lost game 6 of the World Series after they had 2 games to 1 lead against Houston. And now we're going to salute a wild card flag? That's ridiculous, especially for a big market. And the same goes for Tampa. They got railroaded by Texas, that blew the division after a 13-0 start. And now we're going to pat ourselves on the back for winning a wild card. It's a little bit like the Lakers in the NBA. They won that play-in tournament in December, and they put a banner up at the Forum. Really? I know the Lakers are bigger than the Rays as far as their history is concerned, but calm down. You want to put it up for a pennant? I can live with it. You want to put it up for a division? We can discuss. You don't put it up for wild cards when 12 of 30 make the playoffs. That's ridiculous. So both those franchises should know better. That is number 2. And then number 3, I understand that the Yankee fan is going to travel, and I get that, and the Yankee fan is all over the place. I get that too. But they did just go to the World Series. They had a wonderful 2023 postseason, but this is ridiculous. Look at all these Yankee fans in Arizona with Verdugo hitting that home run the other day. They drew 39, 38, and 35,000 for the 3 games. Look at this. I mean, my gosh almighty, that is, I understand there is a certain level of the opponent's fans base, Red Sox, Yankees, when they travel. But how many Yankee fans could live in Arizona, for crying out loud? I mean, it's not like it's Florida, or Boston or Baltimore where they can drive. It's Phoenix and Arizona. They had a great year. Where are all the the ticket buyers, for crying out loud. The Yankees come in, and you're a Diamondback fan, and you're living in the Valley, and you knew that schedule came out middle of last year, and your team goes to the World Series. You got to get those tickets. First week of the year, you got to buy those. You can't let the Yankee fan invade your ballpark. I was shocked, and I'm used to it. I was shocked with what I saw in Arizona this past week with the Yankee fans who won 2 out of 3 Verdugo's home run a couple days ago. Those are your good jobs and bad jobs. Marty totally blew with the Bratwurst thing with Byron Buxton. We'll do a little better job next time and give you 3 solid bad jobs. Has to have bite with the bad jobs. Yes, Alana, take it away.
The biggest bad job is your internet connectivity. I'm not even blaming the earthquake. You need to call your company and figure out what's going on with not only your microphone but your camera and the whole deal, because your internet connectivity is bad job. Second bad job is
what can I tell you?
You calling Brian Buxton.
Yeah,
And by the way, I have ran that sausage race, and those things are heavy. If it would have actually hit Byron Buxton, he would have been taken out for the rest of the year on the IL. This is a guy that can't stay healthy anyway, so make sure that you don't allow a sausage to run over your all-star outfielder, okay? As far as good job is concerned, I love Ellie De La Cruz. It is so difficult to speak in interviews and in public in a language that is not your native tongue. I'm so proud of him. It's so hard to do that. I always give players credit who try to do things in a language that's not, what they were born speaking. Good for him. I love it. And I love it when reporters, too, try to speak the players' language as well. So hopefully your internet connectivity gets better so we can have a much better show on Monday.
Yeah, very choppy today, and we do apologize. They're going to get me back in the city every day of my life if I'm not careful. Good job out of Alana today. You enjoy your weekend. Marty Montato chimed in. He parachuted in so-so.
It is a speed limit enforcement of 100 kilometers ahead of about 400 meters. It is a speed limit enforcement of 100 kilometers ahead of about 200 meters.
카드를 넣어주세요.